myself again. But it's the only...
Good afternoon and welcome to NUFC. A special edition of the show. It's our Dream Team show, and I've got Spenny Mag with us today. How are you?
All right. I hope you've had a good Christmas.
Yeah, great to see you, mate. And as we all know by now, it's a chance for some of the regular panellists on the show to pick their dream team. You get the option of having 3 substitutes, and you've got to pick your manager as well. So we'll get straight on with it, Spenny. Who is your goalkeeper in your dream team, mate?
It's Shea Given, obviously, because with all the years, I think it's been the best keeper in Newcastle for me. There's Shaka and obviously in this Pavel as well, but for me, Shea Given was the best keeper in Newcastle. Dubroga now as well, but second highest for league appearance as well. I think it was 354 as well. Cracking keeper. That's all I've got to say about him, really.
He was one of them players who, he was a good shot stopper, wasn't he? I think, if I remember rightly, his kicking was always a little bit wayward. I think, for me, loyalty goes a long way in football with supporters. And, he had options to leave in the past, where he stayed, he renewed his contract, and maybe he's, just wanted to chase that elusive trophy for Newcastle. He was... cut from the same kind of stone as Alan Shearer, but I remember him leaving under a bit of a cloud. Remember we got thumped at home off Liverpool, and then he put a transfer. He put a transfer, and it's strange because when players put transfer requests in, usually the fans turn on them. But I think people understood why Shea wanted to leave.
At the end of the day, it was 354 appearances for the club. Doesn't get many more than that, and dedication he had. He created Sunderland. I remember coming from Sunderland, Newcastle was training us in Sunderland to get him. I think he chose Newcastle over them. And when I first saw him, when he was playing for Blackburn, I said, how tall is he? He's only about maybe 5'8", because you look and watch him on the telly, you look a small guy, but when you watch him in the crowd, he's 6 foot tall, isn't he? He's very, you know what I mean? He looks small for a goalkeeper, he's not. It's just maybe his way he was positioned, I don't know, and that sort of thing. And he stands.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt, as I say, a very, very loyal person. It's no surprise that a lot of the teams that we've had already on this dream team, NUFC Matters Special, has had Shea Given in the lineup. So no surprise with the goalkeeper. I think, as I say, we've been very lucky over the years, Spenny, to have so many keepers. And you've just mentioned Dubravka, but in Newcastle at the moment, again, we're spoilt for choice. We've got Dubravka, we've got Darlow. You've got plenty in reserve. I mean, Gillespie probably won't see many first team appearances, but he's a local lad. We've got the young'un as well, so we've got plenty players. We've always been spoiled for choice, and he, of course, kept Steve Harper out of the team, didn't he, on a regular basis? Yet he still managed to make over nearly 200 appearances, Steve Harper. But
I remember when Shea Given had an injury and Steve Harper got in, and when Shea Given was fully fit, he couldn't get in the team, so he put a transfer request in, I remember rightly, and he was denied straight away, and he got back in the team, and that was it. Remember that.
Yeah. Okay, now that's your goal. Let's go to right back. Where's your right back in Spenny's Mags?
John Anderson. John Anderson is a right back I watched when it come to see Newcastle. He was absolute brilliant. He never failed every game. He was totally committed. And he came as a free transfer as well, under a cloud when Keegan came. Believe it or not, and he'd probably be the best free transfer we've ever had. Honestly, I remember him. I think it was about his 10th game, and I was standing in the Gallagher end corner, and he broke someone's leg. I can't remember who it was. And you could hear the crack in the Gallagher end. I can't remember who it was now, but you could hear the crack of the lad breaking his leg. Honest, he was awesome, like.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, you've got to be of a certain vintage to appreciate John Anderson. Luckily, I am. Certainly my favourite right back at Newcastle. No prisoners. Do you think I would survive the current game? Do you think he's no nonsense that would survive the scrutiny of VAR and all these cameras?
No, I don't think. I think some of the ex-players he played against, I think, we've still got bruises of him telling the show. I remember that goal. The goal against Watford he scored, a 25-yarder. I remember that goal. Oh, it was awesome. I couldn't believe it. Still remember it in my back of my head. I haven't seen it since.
I seem to remember him scoring a belter against Millwall as well when we got relegated. He always pitched in with a goal.
Yeah.
Did he score in the promotion season against Leeds?
He did. Yes, he did. Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
83, 84. I think he scored that. But yeah,
he left 3 goals in, didn't he, in about 12 games, and scored about 20.
Yeah.
I mean, goes without saying, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean he's just epitomised what being a hard man in football was all about.
Yeah.
I remember years later coming across him on the Sunday League pitch. He was playing against me, and luckily we didn't have to close at the back or hovering towards midfield. I think playing in more of a David Batty role, sitting in front of the back four, and I was playing in the back for the opposition team. Didn't have to cross him on too many occasions. Luckily, he didn't venture too far forward because by those days he couldn't really get back. But got a lot.
I remember Roy Aiken coming Newcastle and he played with him. I thought, flipping heck, who's going to do anything here? Train them now, because Roy Aiken was a nasty piece of work as well. Funny.
Yeah. Roy Aiken, Feed the Bear, and all that. Special time me, the Bear. As a Newcastle fan, the Keegan days were great, but going back to those days, I'd love to be able to just travel back to St James's Park
and stand in that crowd again and just search when the dead and came on, or when the police came at the end. Police came round the end and singing Laurinati songs to them. You know what I mean?
Good old days. Good in the corner and the scoreboard and the back between the two sections, and just great. The old pylon, was still at the ground in the far end towards what is the Milburn stand now. Yeah, amazing time. It's a bygone era which we're part of. So amazing. But John in it right back for Spenny's team. So who's left? Spenny.
Who's left back is John Beresford. I've gone for John Beresford. I met him a couple of times at charity deals and that. And as a footballer, he was a good footballer. He had 1 or 2 set to the Keegan mine. I remember him getting took off the pitch after 20 minutes because he was arguing on the pitch to him about something. I can't remember what it was. John, you maybe tell us more about than that. You know him as well. But he was a cracking left back. Solid as a rock as well.
Yeah, the incident you're talking about, I think, was at Villa, and I think they had a pre-match team talk. I've talked about it on one of the other dream teams actually, and there was a little bit of to and fro between Bez and Keegan beforehand. He was asked a job, and said that Keegan more or less told him what he wanted to do, and don't worry, Janola's on that side. He'll try and help you, and Bez said there's no chance he's ever going to do that. And sure enough, Bez was right. We conceded a goal down that left-hand side that Bez was playing on. And basically, Bez went to the dugout and basically said, I haven't told you. And he said, Bez talks about it when he does his talkings, but he says, when you say something and you realise you've said, no, you shouldn't have said it. And he says, Kevin hates swearing. And he hates swearing more when it's down him. And he said, I just wished I caught the effing as it left me mouth. He says, but it was too late. And he says, as soon as I said it, he says, I saw the cards getting ready. And he says, and Robbie Elliott started warming up. And he said, I got, basically, he says, Kevin had Robbie on, off. And, he says, back as the red mist had dropped. He says, and as I'm good. He says, I'm looking rather sheepish. And down the tunnel. And I said to Derek Arthur Cox, what can I do, And they said, well, first of all, you want to pray we don't get beat. Of course, Newcastle didn't get beat. They went in. He went to see him in the office afterwards. Coxey told him to go and see him in the office. And he went into the office and he more or less said, look, I'm sorry. And he said, I'll get down on my knees if you want us to. And he went, no, it's okay. You realised your mistake and that's it, And that was it. He says, I never played again for a few months. So he didn't get. No. So he's not the only one that suffered it like that, but yeah, it's a great story.
I remember him doing it, I was up my head off watching him, because I knew what had happened. He doesn't take any prisoners, Keegan.
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. But John Beresford, again, a very popular choice in most people's lineups in their dream team.
He turned down Liverpool as well for us as well, didn't he?
Well, he failed his man. It's another interesting story. He failed a medical down there, but Keegan, when he got him up here, says, "Don't worry." He says, "You'll fly," because Paul Bracewell did. So that was to Bez, and yeah, it was Bez said he was hard when the Liverpool move fell through, but it was fate. He came to Newcastle, and we're very grateful for him coming to Newcastle. It depends on what you're going to be doing with your centre halves, etc. What formation are you playing, Spenny?
I'm playing 4-3-3.
4-3-3. Okay, so you got two in at the back alongside Beresford. Give us your first centre half.
The first centre half's Woodgate. Absolutely. I know he only played for one season a bit, but he's absolutely awesome. He was the best centre half I've seen in Newcastle, without a doubt. And you don't get Real Madrid coming by here for nothing. I think there's not many English players go over there. Sold over there. I remember when he first came and when we met at the Leeds bar, and he told me how good he was. I didn't believe him, and tell you the truth. He says he made Rio Ferdinand when he went to Leeds. He made Rio Ferdinand go to Man United because he was that good on his day. Cracking player.
Yeah, I mean it was down to, wasn't it, at the end of the day? From our perspective, we thought we'd signed somebody who was going to take us to the next level. It was a great. I've got to be perfectly honest. I don't think I remember a better centre half in a black and white shirt. I would agree with you 100%. Unfortunately, the injuries took their toll, and we didn't really get the best out of him. But when he played and he was on form, and there was just something very, very special about him. He was composed. He was a leader. He could.
Confident what he was doing.
Did he?
Yeah, he's so confident what he did.
Yeah, he never panicked.
Never panicked. No. He sounds going up a bit, Steve. His sound's going up a bit.
I was wondering what was going. I'll try a little bit, mate, but there's. Didn't be an issue at this end. Give us 2 seconds and I'll just double check, mate. It might be the internet connection, but no, mate, so it may be at your end. But we'll keep on going.
Do you want to move a laptop and still go? All right.
You know what? Are you going to move? Yeah.
A little bit high. Sorry about that.
You're like what? You're zooming.
Right.
Zooming.
I'm going down now. Sorry, Steve. Right on, mate. Hear us now?
Okay, mate.
Yeah.
I can hear you now, mate. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry. It might be me, might be you, but we're there in the end. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly now, mate.
Right. Great stuff, mate. Great stuff. So yeah, Jonathan Woodgate was one of those players, as I say, we didn't quite get the best. We didn't quite get the best out of him just because of his injury list, the injuries that he was, suffering all the time.
Yeah, honest. If we could have gone further with Bobby Robson, I thought we would have won that cup. I think if we kept him that long, I think he was in the cup team, wasn't he? He never played in the final, did he? You know what I mean?
No.
Cracking player. And
okay, so who have you got? Who have you got alongside him at centre half, Spenny?
Well, I'm showing my age again. It's David Mccreary. Because he was totally just like John Anderson for me. He could play anywhere as well. I think he played everywhere. He's honest. He was solid as a rock. And he even went to the World Cup and played the best players in the World Cup and put them in the pockets as well. If I remember rightly. Cracking player, David Mccreary. It's in between him and Albert, but for me, when I started going, he was the top man there, like him and Rhoda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, David Mccreary was one of those players who, like John Anderson, took no prisoners. He was easy. You could play him at the back. You could play him in midfield. As you say, international. Former Man United as well, but just a really good player and a key part of that 1983-84 promotion team, Spenny.
Definitely, aye. Like I said, he never took any prisoners. Like he sometimes played in midfield as well, and he brought them back, sort of thing. He's that versatile as well. He could play him anywhere, and he played his heart on his shield all the time. You know what I mean? You don't get players like that these days, do you? Really?
Yeah. I've got a good story about him, actually. There was 83-84 promotion season. At the end of the season, Newcastle went to... no, it was the start of the following season. So just as our first season back in the First Division, my granddad was a referee assessor and took us along to Gateshead Stadium to see Newcastle play Gateshead in a friendly. And it was amazing, great game. Newcastle won by 7 goals to 1. Peter Beardsley played, and there was appearances by the likes of Anderson and Mccreary, etc. By this time Keegan and Terry Mack have gone, of course, but Beardsley and Waddle were star players. Kenny Wharton got 4 in the game, if I remember rightly, and then after that, we got an opportunity to go down to the dressing room area. So my granddad took us down to the dressing room area, and my dad was with us as well. And we were standing there waiting for autographs, as you do when you're a kid. And the players all came out, and Peter Beardsley came out, and Kenny Wharton came out, and getting the autographs off people. And then David Mccreary comes out, and he goes, "All right, John." Well, my dad's name's John, and I was like that, wow. And I says, "Would you mind signing me programme?" So he signs me programme, and I says, "Thank you," and good lad, and rubbed me hair. I did have hair then. And he goes back in. Well, that was it. From that moment on, I always thought my dad's pal was David Mccreary. It wasn't until years later that I recollected this story and told it to my dad. And my dad goes, "You do realise that Irish people, as a term of endearment, go, 'All right, John.'" And I was going, "Oh, for God's sake." I always thought my dad knew David Mccreary, so that was me claim to fame as a kid. So yeah, small world, funny story. But I've met David Mccreary on many occasions and told him that story. And I even met him with my dad years later when we did a talking, and he was laughing at it. He was laughing.
It's a brilliant bloke. Like, you could tell he's... But then type players like John Anderson have brought Newcastle into the hearts as well. And still, obviously, John Anderson still lives around here and does all these, say, Newcastle sort of stuff, and he's commentates and all that. Very loyal people to Newcastle, like, totally, and to the supporters as well.
Yeah. So in your 4-3-3 formation, mate, who's sitting in the middle, just in front of the back four?
There's only one man to do it. Is David Batty. David Batty, brilliant. We had Butt, we had Speed, another touch on Batty. Even Keegan, when he got him, he says he didn't believe how good a footballer he was. Just to sit there and just watch him, because that position was my ideal position. I love players with grit and balls and going for the ball and 100% and having a go at every game. Never stopped running. And I used to just stand there in the Gallagher's and see if I could see him, and just stand there and watch him, because in amazement, because he just ran all day. Unbelievable. I know he was Yorkshire, he was all Leeds and all that. But should never have sold him, like, no way. Spine of the team gone.
A lot of people ask the question why we didn't win the league in 95-96, and some people point the finger at bringing David Batty in because he wasn't a forward player. He would win the ball, he would pass it sideways, or he would pass it back. Do you believe that, or do you think it was down to something else?
I remember him kicking long balls forward and all sorts. He was brought in because at the time there was a thing about our defence, leaking goals. Oh, Newcastle dodgy defence and all that. I think he was brought in just to shut people up, really, basically. You know what I mean? But like I said, he's cracking player, Batty, mind. Cracking. Yeah, I think it affected him a lot when he missed that penalty for England, like, but...
Yeah, he was a class act, Spenny, wasn't he? He was a class act. He'd won the league at Blackburn, of course.
Yeah.
It was another one of those players, a bit like Tino, saw him as a potential final piece in the jigsaw, I suppose. Yeah,
and he went back to Leeds after us again, didn't he?
Yeah.
Leeds twice, you know what I mean? He was always Leeds, like, but he always gave 100% for us. Always did. And he did for Blackburn as well, because he was a professional player. And you don't get professional players like that. They're not like wanting the wage demands and that. They want to play football and they're privileged to play football, which that should be like for everybody, really. I mean, it should be an honour. You know what I mean? Like to me and you, we would love to play for Newcastle. You know what I mean? But some of these players now, they're just there, you know what I mean? They're for the money, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those situations. But yeah, David Batty, great player. As I think I mentioned on one of the other dream teams as well, one of those players who used to carry his stuff around in a carrier bag. He never had a sports bag. He used to take his carrier bag with his boots in like a Sunday morning player. But great servant to the club, although only here for a short period of time. So who's on the right side of your midfield?
I think right side I've got Ginola on there. Or is it Leigh? It's one of them.
Leigh, mate.
Leigh. Bobby Leigh, I call him Bobby Ray. Not Robbie Leigh, Robbie Leigh's brilliant engine. Scored some loads of goals for Newcastle. I always remember when you used to cross grandstand with Des Lynam on us afternoon when he used to play for Charlton. He used to the Charlton results and he used to come up. Leigh scored. And I was thinking to myself, who's this Leigh? He's scoring all the time. And the next minute I know he signs for Newcastle. And the funny story is I've heard about this. I don't know if you know this one, Steve. Is when Keegan went to buy him and he had a choice between Middlesbrough and Newcastle. And Keegan told him that Newcastle was closer to London than it was Middlesbrough. That's what he signed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he basically said that it was closer. Yeah, I mean it's a well-known story. But I remember at Charlton. I mean, I've got a few old programs still kicking about in the loft, and I've actually got some Charlton programs. How I ended up with them, I don't know. And I sent something to Rob a while back, just saying, "Wow, who is this young kid?" And he was man of the match, Rob Lee, and sponsors man of the match, Rob Lee. And yeah, you're right. He was a dynamic player down there. But for Kevin Keegan to convince him that Newcastle was closer to London than Middlesbrough was a stroke of genius, and pound for pound probably one of the best signings that Kevin Keegan made while he was at the club.
Definitely, yes. And like I said, he scored loads of goals. I think he scored about 20 in one season. I think. And he made the Premiership all-time list for that, like all season, after player of the season sort of thing, young player of the season for Charlton or Newcastle, something like that. Remember that happening. And he was captain as well. Hullen made him captain with Newcastle as well. Demon Shea was injured or something. Remember that right? He was captain for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. And then obviously the way that he was treated by Ruud Gullit wasn't great at all, was it?
No. I don't think any player was treated right at Newcastle for Ruud Gullit. For a person, like a manager like him, if he's known in the world, and now he's management people, was unbelievable. And he came on saying he was going to do this sexy football. All the ones who could do the sexy football, he wouldn't play. Would he?
No, that's the thing. I mean, there was rumours as well that he was sitting in a deck chair at training.
It was just his shorts on and he's had sunglasses on. Probably, no doubt.
Yeah, crazy. So on the left-hand side, you gave it away a little bit, mate, but on the left-hand side of your midfield, you've got a bit of Gaelic flair.
I have.
David Ginola.
I'll give him to David Ginola because he come over here from Paris Saint-Germain. He could have been from Milan or anything like that. And he was our first really world-class player bought by Keegan. I know we could have gotten more, but he wanted to come as well. He must have seen what Newcastle was about. I remember going to the training ground with Durham when he used to train there before he started playing for Newcastle. And I remember coming on and seeing him and seeing how good he was off the ball and all that and how skillful he was. And he used to get kicked. He still got up. Do you know what I mean? He didn't have that many appearances, but he was class. And he scored the best goal I've seen at Newcastle as well. I think it was the UEFA Cup game, the free kick right in the top corner. Absolutely brilliant and class as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was he's just one of those players, wasn't he? That would get you out of your seat. I mean, he didn't score many goals, Spenny. Does that surprise you?
It did. Like it was in between him and Robert, and Robert scored the free kicks. But I don't know if you remember when Robert came, and every free kick he took when he first came, I think he managed to hit the corner flag because it must have taken him about 20 attempts to get his aim in. Once he got his aim in, he was scoring like anything. But Ginola took the players on. Supported cheering them. Robert was more and more selfish, I thought. Himself. He was not for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rory.
Yeah, I would agree. He's a bit of a team player. He didn't defend Ginola. Did that used to annoy you, or were you not that bothered? I mean, this is we talked a bit earlier about John Beresford, complaining about Ginola always bombing on, but in Keegan's team, everybody bombed on.
it just showed how the football changed. Because I remember Chris Waddle. Chris Waddle, when he was playing for Newcastle, he never used to come back. I think he was playing centre forward one time. He was number 9. He was number 9 for a season, wasn't he? Chris Waddle. Yeah. And he was a similar player to Ginola. Them flair players, and I know it's in the game now to come back and defend. A defender should defend. It shouldn't be attacking midfielder. Shouldn't be a defender for me. Attacking midfielders, his job is to pass it to the defense forwards or even score themselves. Get the goals in, not to defend. If the defenders can't defend, there's something wrong. Isn't it?
Yeah, no, true, mate. Very true. So, okay, you've gone 4-3-3 in this formation. 3 people up front. We've seen very much the same players in different combinations linked. So, interested to hear who yours are. In no particular order, who's your front 3?
Well, the best player I've ever seen in Newcastle, and the best player I've even graced the football in the black and white shirt for me, and the times I've been going to matches, Peter Beardsley. Honest. Never seen anything like it in my life. And how fit he was and how fast he was. I remember coming back from Mexico in the World Cup when he was playing with Gary Lineker, and his legs were like tree trunks because he was so fit all the time. Never drank, did he? Nothing like that. It's just, I couldn't understand him, but he was a cracking footballer. Wasn't he?
He was magical, wasn't he? Magical player. Which do you think was his best season, Spenny? The 83-84 season, or when he came back in that first season in the Premier League with Andy Cole?
I thought I think he played better when he was with Andy Cole. Keegan, yes, he was younger. I think he got 28 goals that season with Keegan, or something like that in the Championship. When he was with Andy Cole and he scored 23 and Andy Cole scored 42 or something like that, didn't he? Got the most ever scored in the season for Newcastle in the top league. That's how good they were. You know what I mean? And phenomenal. You know what I mean? In England, even playing for England, he was the same. Everywhere he went, there was never a bad word about Beardsley. When he went to Everton and Liverpool and came back again, he started the Man United first, didn't he? And then didn't take him on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he certainly made Andy Cole and helped him get a fantastic move to Manchester United, which of course set him up for the rest of his life. But Peter Beardsley, great shout, mate. You're not getting many arguments. My favourite player of all time that I've actually seen as well in a black and white shirt. Okay, next man up front alongside Peter Beardsley. Who have you got?
Well, I've just been talking about Andy Cole. Andy Cole, for me, he scored the most goals, like I've just said there, and he was unbelievable. I remember when we signed him it was at Bristol City we signed him in the second half of the season, didn't we? When we went to Division 1. And he played 12 games and he scored, 2 or 3 hat-tricks in them games. He scored 12 goals in 12 games. That's how good he was. I always remember that game, my favourite ever game against Leicester when we went up. I think we won 7-1 and he scored a hat-trick that day. And the ball went out and the referee blew, someone was injured or something, and the whole of the ground sang the Andy Cole song. And what an amazing that must have felt for him, having all them fans sing his name. It just stopped it, and it was live on telly as well. You know, you could hear it was Andy Cole, Andy Cole, Andy Cole. Unbelievable, like. And when he went to the Premiership, he just set the Premiership alight. I was devastated when he said them, like, I was saying, Keegan, what are you doing? I could not believe it. I nearly went up myself outside that St. James's, asking what he was doing. You know what I mean? But that was his plan to get Shearer, wasn't it? All along then.
Strange times, and shows the passion of Kevin Keegan coming out onto the steps to talk to the supporters that day. But Andy Cole, has he, in your mind, maybe he's blotted his copybook, I suppose is the right way to put it. A lot of supporters don't speak highly of Andy Cole because of his Man United connections and, standing on the pitch and singing that Cheer Up Kevin Keegan song. And, I don't mind him because, what he did was he broke Hughie Gallagher's record. He gave us some great service, and I'll always be thankful. But some supporters are like that, What's your views on that?
No, not at all. He was there to score goals. He scored goals. It wasn't his fault he got sold, was it? He could have been there. You know what I mean? And every time he's on the television talking about Newcastle, he always speaks highly of Newcastle, like Ginola does. and all of them. Because you know what I mean? Of all the players that come back, like who left, I never had any disagreements. I never booed Cole when he came back. I never booed him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't think he went for the grade like past ones did. You know what I mean? For the money, for the wages somewhere else, the better facilities. I think the club sold him. Like they sold Beasley, didn't they? To upgrade the East Stand. You know what I mean? Or with the Melbourne, sorry.
Proved to be the right thing to do, though. We got Les Ferdinand and Alan Shearer in, so wasn't a bad swap in the end. And
I was going to put Les Ferdinand in, but he was building Steve Bruce up against Leeds, so I took him out.
Okay, well that makes it slightly easier to guess who your next forward, your final person to make the starting lineup is.
Right, it's got to be Shearer on it. There's only one Shearer. There's only one there in the number 9. North Face lad came back. And his dreams come true. He just pity we didn't win anything with him. That's the only thing. You know what I mean? Just what he's played on his hat and the amount of goals he scored and how the goals were scored was unbelievable. You never ever get a striker like that again. Never.
No, top player. I mean, Harry Kane. He's probably the only person who has a chance at this moment in time to beat his record. Do you think he'll do it?
Well, there will be beaten. I think, yes, it will. Will Kane be the one? Depends if he gets to go abroad or not. Tottenham don't win anything this year. I think he will go abroad. I'll be sold yourself. It's too much. You know what Tottenham always tells the best players, don't they? Too much of a good asset. I'm surprised you didn't know.
What's your favourite Shearer goal?
I think it's the last one against Everton, wasn't it? When he broke the record, it was in the Everton game, top corner job. He'll come over and just head volleyed it straight in the top.
Oh, that good. Yeah, the one where Amiobi sets it up.
Oh, Amiobi, you know I couldn't believe it. I just what Amiobi doing here before he did. And I just saw the ball go like that and just come towards us as well because I was right just above it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. You know, when you're at the match, you think everything's in slow motion sometimes, don't you? When you watch it from a television point of view and the match. But that wasn't slow motion. Like, if you blinked, you wouldn't see it.
It's a toss-up between that one and the Aston Villa one that he scored, Pash Michael, where he hit it at such an acute angle after Rob Lee's ball. That was an absolute belter. But yeah.
Well, I like the Sunderland goal as well, like the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the occasion and it turned out to
he
be
missed the one before that, didn't he? He missed the one the season before that as well. Yeah. And I got some stick over that.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so there's your 11. Spenny's Mags, given in goal. John Anderson at right back. Centre halves, Jonathan Woodgate and David Mccreary. John Beresford in at left back. Then we've got Rob Lee on the right. David Batty in the middle and David Ginola on the left. And then a front three. What a front three that is. Beardsley, Cole and Alan Shearer.
That could have been more. That could have happened if Cole wasn't sold, couldn't it? Imagine that.
Could have done, yeah. But what a fantastic 11 that is. We always give you the opportunity to have 3 substitutes. So who's the first person to make Spenny's bench?
It's Philip Albert. Because of his determination and that goal at Man United. He scored goals and his commitment to the club as well. Because for a foreign player, you could tell he was injured in his later years and he just kept on going because he wanted to play for Newcastle, which I saw and a few others saw as well. So I totally respect him for that. Totally respect him for that.
That goal in that game against Manchester United was something special, wasn't it?
You'll never ever forget that in your life. I don't think any Newcastle fan would. What a goal it was off a defender as well. You know what I mean? It's just a shame all these players I'm seeing are not associated in the club at the moment. They should be brought in for me, either coaching or something like that. Just a shame, isn't it?
Okay, 2 more substitution places up for grabs. Who's next?
I've gone for Gaze. Because, like I said with John Anderson and all that, he was in like the younger Newcastle day, but we never saw the full potential of Gaze. He was did more at Tottenham. But when he played for Newcastle, he started to come in. Jack Charlton got him going. He was a class act, like. You could tell straight away he was going to go play. And I always remember Jackie Milburn turning around and said he was going to be the best in the world. And how much you would, if someone said that about you, thinking, I remember watching it on the news from this day. I'm thinking, what's he talking about? It's a bloody world speeder. And when he proved it, boy, right, he was wrong, didn't he? Saying that, just showed he knew what a player looked like. Cracking player.
He was a good. I mean, he was learning his craft at Newcastle, wasn't he? We saw flashes of him. I mean, there was a wonderful goal he scored against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. It was the goal that stopped in the stanchion at the Gallagher end. I remember a cup game against Bradford again.
He did a jiggle.
Yeah, he did that little jiggle. You obviously remember the games against Wimbledon as well, which probably best known for one reason and one reason only, and that was, of course, him grabbing, Vinnie Jones grabbing his balls, and that iconic picture. So lots of memories of Gazza, but he went on to become the world's best player in 1990, didn't he?
The most vivid moment I remember is when he came back with Tottenham, and Newcastle ran out of Mars bars that day.
I saw them outside the Gallagher.
He bought one off you.
Probably did, mate.
Fighting them on.
I stuck them in the freezer. And I was selling them for £1 a pop. And Mars bars at the time were only 12 pence. So I had a good day outside the Gallagher that day.
I got mine from the garage. You know the garage you used to be before you used to go along to the ground on the corner, just underneath to where the breweries used to be and all that. I used to go in there. I got about 10. And then when he came to take that corner, it was unbelievable. All the bars went over my head. I was just toying at him.
There's plenty of footage of him standing there though, eating one. He eats.
I only get one as well. Because why Tottenham? I went mental. Why did he go to Tottenham?
Well, his pal was there. Chris Waddle had gone. I mean, another Geordie down there. But the rumours have it that the reason he went to Tottenham is because the chairman promised to buy his sister Lindsay a sunbed.
Sunbed. Unbelievable. I think he regrets it actually, because if he went to Man United, he might be getting more honours and more.
Sir Alex Ferguson certainly might have looked after him a little bit better. He was a maverick. He was his own man. He's easily led, and unfortunately, at times he's been in a bit of a state. But at the moment, fingers crossed, he's doing well. I do keep in touch with him, and we'll wish him well over the festive season.
Do it well.
Last substitution then.
I'm going for Miradina. Miradina came all the way from Brazil, Greer. Superman brought him, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I respect him for doing that. He probably didn't even know where Newcastle was when he got off the plane. It was not, you know what I mean? But on his day, I remember when playing in Man United and scored them goals. For his height, he used to jump like a gazelle. It was unbelievable. It was. But I pity he didn't stop there longer. I think when he's played about 40 games, didn't he? 50 or 40 games, 2 seasons there, something like that.
Yeah.
Goddard come or something like that, didn't it? Something like that. Right. Cracking player. I've put him in instead of Quinn. And it was between him and Quinn. But I thought Miradino should get it because he's got my respect for being a foreign lad, didn't know the language or nothing like that. Came all the way from Brazil. First Brazilian in our league and all, wasn't he?
Francisco Inundi Lima da Silva, he played at Wembley. Played at Wembley for Brazil. Scored in a 1-1 draw. Malcolm was involved in the early days, but I think he got sidelined in the deal, which he wasn't very happy about. And Mirror eventually came to the club. But yeah, I mean, he was a bit of a player, fiery at times. I remember him being on the pitch against Wimbledon and running and kicking Dave Besant up the backside. And then when Dave Besant ran after him, he ran off. That's when the changing rooms were actually at the Leazes end when we were getting the stand developed, if you remember. But he played in a forward line of midgets, really.
He used to walk in like Man United do, don't they? So the tunnel sort of thing.
Yeah. The forward line was ridiculous. We had John Hendry, John Robertson, and Mirandina, who were all about 5'8". We had Dave Besant, who was 6'6" in goal, kicking the ball over the top of them.
All the way above them, mate.
And if you watch that relegation video, which I have many occasions, it's the best thing to watch. If you ever feel Newcastle is poor, watch that DVD. That relegation season was one of the worst ever. And Dave Besant, for 6'6" or whatever he is, gets lobbed. He gets lobbed not once, not twice, but about 15 times in the season. How can you get lobbed when you're 6'6"? I'm still angry about it now, as you can tell.
I know. I thought it was brilliant. He came like Willie Fawn. I thought Willie Fawn being a good centre half.
No, definitely not, mate.
And Robinson, he's in Scotland, scoring as many goals as possible, couldn't he?
It was just we gave Willie McFall a lot of money, and I think he was ill advised by by his scouting team, and some of the players he brought in just weren't up to scratch. Okay, last thing to select. Who's managing your team?
Keegan, no doubt. Saved our club. We won the league. We would have been a different club from now, and he would have stopped them maybe another 10 years. I think could have won European trophies a lot. We've just gone past that league title. What he did to this team, we'll need the bottom. Ozzy Ideas, don't get us wrong. Ozzy Ideas before he wasn't a bad manager. He played some cracking football. Ozzy Ideas' teams, but when Keegan took over, you could tell. No, had no experience in management. And what did he do? Nearly won the Premier League. Unbelievable. Man management skills must have been class. And he, like I said, I've never met the lad either. It's only one bad thing in my life. I've met Kevin Keegan. I'd love to meet him. You can see there's a bit of all about him in the Stave, apparently, when you talk to him.
Yeah, and he's still got a lot of love for Newcastle United. I mean, I'm lucky in the sense that I know Kevin well, met him on many occasions, worked with him, had him on stage last year with me at the Lancastrian Suite with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle and Terry McDermott, and it was a cracking night. But yeah, look, Kevin Keegan is he epitomises what it means to follow Newcastle United. He gave us a wonderful few years as a manager, and we'll always be thankful for that. And if the takeover goes through, it would be great to see him back as an ambassador, or an ambassador for Newcastle United, because there's nobody better.
Yeah, there's nobody better. Wouldn't like him charging money, because he likes spending money, didn't he?
Yeah, he does. But look, if we get a Saudi takeover, mate, money's no object.
It's just isn't it?
Spenny, that's a wonderful selection, mate. It's just been a bit of fun, and good to have you on, mate. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the festive period with your family and a bit of time off, mate. But thanks for taking part in the show.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way.
And don't forget, throughout December, we're promoting our own campaign, Think Before You Tweet.
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 Please just think before you tweet.
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 Think before you tweet.